Since your school days, you're familiar with it, but what we will be doing is looking at the Harappan civilization through the lens of UPSC, right? So essentially, we will focus on the following. We will focus on the discovery, but while we are focusing on the discovery, we will not, talk about the history of the discovery. We'll talk about, the major names and the significance. Then we'll be talking about the extent and the spread. You must have noted that I'm using the term Harappan civilization, right? Though Indus Valley civilization is also popular, so why Harappan civilization? Then we'll be talking about the period. This is important because this is prelims. So we have 3 periods with regard to Harappan civilization, which is the period that we'll be concentrating on. And then we will be moving on to the general features of the mature Harappan settlements. So as soon as I say this, you must have realized the period that we'll be focusing on. Now, after that, we'll move on to the subsistence base. That is essentially how the people of Harappa, sustain themselves, right? Agriculture, domestication, etc. From there, we move on to their crafts and industries, which is related to trade, their arts and aesthetics, a bit on the dress and ornaments. Very important is their script, which still is enigmatic. Then we'll focus on the social stratification and if we can actually see the political setup given the evidences. Important is religion, and finally the decline. Okay, so this is how we will proceed. And irrespective of how many questions or whatever has actually been asked in the previous years in UPSC, please remember that here we don't want to leave any stone unturned. So we want a comprehensive study of the subject so that, if any question comes from the Harappan civilization, you can answer it very comfortably. Now, first, we move on to the discovery, right? Now, here, I will just ask, these are well known, okay? But here, these 4 names are the ones that you need to be working with. One is, of course, Alexander Cunningham. So Alexander Cunningham was the first Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India, and Archaeological Survey of India was established in 1861. The same year when he was appointed the first Director General. So this can be a GK question also. And the significance of this man is that he is also known as the father of Indian archaeology. He missed a vital clue because he was working on something else when a Harappan seal was given to him, but he did not understand its significance. Later on, of course, we know John Marshall, when he became the Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. His tenure was in the first to the second decades of the 20th century. So it was under his tenure that the 2 most important site as well as popular, well-known site of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa were excavated. But another important information with regard to John Marshall is that he's considered the first professional archaeologist in India. So, just be careful of these 2 names, Alexander Cunningham, father of Indian archaeology, but John Marshall considered the first professional archaeologist in India. But I'm not going into the details why. It is there in class 12, NCERT book. You can see that. And under him, Harappa, of course, Dayaram Sahni, year of excavation is 1921. And the significance is that of all the site, it was the first site to be discovered. And again, the location is very important, Punjab, Pakistan, West Punjab. In fact, earlier it was known as the Montgomery district, now it's known as the Sahiwal district. The river name is also important because sometimes you may get, match the pair, river and site. So Harappa beside the Ravi. And Mohenjo-daro, of course, Rakhaldas Bandyopadhyay, very well known among the Bengalis, proud of, he's given a lot of pride to the Bengali race. Anyway, so 1922 is the excavation. Again, the location is important, Larkana district of Sindh. And of course, the river is Indus. Now, another important information is regard to when it was officially announced. Now, if you look at the slide, the excavation started in the early 1920s, but only after 2 years of the initial excavation, in 1924, 20th September, it was published in the Illustrated London News. Now, when it is published in an international journal, it gets international coverage. So this is very, very important, and people came to know that the Indian civilization is now pushed back a few thousand of years back. So this is what you need to know. These are the basics with regard to the discovery. We will not look into the history or anything, but these 4 names, and when it was officially announced, these you should remember. Now we move on to the extent. Now, can you see the map clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you look, if anyone has Upinder Singh, you will see she writes more than 1,000 sites have been discovered in NCERT. It's 2,000 sites. So I'm taking NCERT because UPSC has this tendency of following the NCERT textbook. And it is also published a bit later and updated. So I've given here 2,000 sites. Now, if you just follow my the cursor, the northernmost site is Manda. So anyone having Upinder Singh can also look at it, but the site is not given. So it is here, just here. Srinagar is somewhere here. Okay. And the southernmost is Malwan. This is Malwan. The westernmost is Sutkavendor, which is here on the Makran coast in Pakistan. And the easternmost extent is Alamgirpur in Uttar Pradesh. But please remember, there is also an isolated site, right? Here, Shortugai. Okay. So this is the extent. So more or less everything within this zone, but you also have a isolated site here in Shortugai. So it's worth knowing. Okay. Now we move on to the justification of the naming. You must have noted I've been using the term Harappan civilization. Now, as is well known, the very first sites of this civilization was discovered in the valley of the Indus and its tributaries. So naturally, John Marshall termed it, Indus Valley Civilization or Indus Civilization. But later on, several other sites were discovered, which shared, typical features of the one discovered in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, but they were not confined within the Indus Valley. So naturally, there was a debate, and this led to a shift in naming it. So instead of Indus Valley Civilization or Indus Civilization, Mortimer Wheeler, this was in the 1940s, he termed it Indus Civilization. Okay, the focus Indus Valley, civilization, the valley is missing, right? But sometimes when John Marshall, I mean, if you look at the first statement, Indus Valley Civilization or Indus Valley, it was used kind of synonymously, but Mortimer Wheeler said it should be, Indus Civilization. Now, in the 21st century, there was some controversy regarding the naming of this civilization as Indus Saraswati or Sindhu Saraswati, because a large number of sites were located on the banks of the Gagra Harka River, which was identified by the French Indian writer as the one which is mentioned in the Rig Veda as Saraswati. And in his book, The Lost River on the Trails of the Saraswati in 2010, he, gave this proposal. But this has been, hotly contested by most of the historians. And there was also this angle of, he's trying that Hindwata claim and all. So now this is hotly contested. I'll be very surprised if anything comes or any reference to the Indus Saraswati or Sindhu Saraswati come, but it's good to know. And the same reason why we cannot use Indus Valley civilization can be applied to the Sindhu Saraswati civilization also. So the best option is to use Harappan civilization because, the convention in archaeology is that you name a site after the discovery of artifacts where it is discovered first. So therefore, Harappa was the site where artifacts were discovered. So it was named as Harappa. I mean, but of course, people use Indus Valley civilization, but as academics and as students, I think you should be aware of this naming. Now let us move on to the period. So this is the broad chronology. But if you look, I mean, you must be following various texts. You will see that various historian archaeologists have stated which can be the possible period with regard to the Harappan civilization. But the one which you see on your screen is the accepted one right now. So you have three phases: the early Harappan phase, which is 3200 to 600. Then the mature phase, which is actually the subject of our interest. This is the one we will be focusing on because this is prelims. If this was the mains and optional, we would be looking at all of these. But right now, for the prelims, we'll be looking at this mature Harappan phase, which is 2600 1900. So all the information which will now follow will be based on whatever has been excavated, in this period, essentially. Right. Now we move on to the important part, which is the general features of the mature Harappan civilization. Now, as you look into the slide, there are some, parts which are highlighted. So essentially, what I will ask you to do is, when you look at the information in these slides, these are the takeaway points, right? So just mind this. Now, the most unique features of the Harappan civilization is the development of urban centers, right? Initially, it was thought that the urban center was more or less universal, but now archaeologists are stating that it is rural, but it had urban features, and that makes it unique among the ancient civilizations, right? And of the top 5, so these are the top 5: Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Ganeriwala, Rakhi Garhi. Very, very important is Rakhi Garhi. It was, not there in the picture, but in the 1990s, fresh round of debates and discussions and satellite pictures, and now Rakhi Garhi is considered the largest site. From 300 to 500, this is the range. Safe to say 300 plus hectares. Dholavira. So these are the top, 5 sites of the mature Harappan settlements. Though you also have a second round of Harappan settlements which are moderately sized, say 10 to 50 hectares. For example, Judeo which is in Pakistan, and of course Kalibangan. But then you also have a third rung, just 5 to 10 hectares. Amri, Lothal is important here. Chanudaro is important. We'll be looking at this. And then very small settlements, just 1 to 5 hectares. Alodino, Kodbiji, Rupar, Balakata, Surkadaho, and all these. And with more and more passing of time, it has been discovered that there are even smaller settlements. But these are more or less the divisions, right? Now, the features. One aspect is, yes, the settlements were clearly planned. However, one should also say that there was no connection between, the level of planning and the size of the settlement. For example, Lothal is small, okay, but it shows a much higher level of planning than Kalibangan, which is twice the size. So this is very interesting. I mean, just because it's big doesn't mean it is planned as well, right? And the details of the plan also differ. For example, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, and Kalibangan, these are major sites. They have a similar layout. So these are something which you should look out for. Similar layout, which are the major sites. And what is the similar layout? A raised citadel complex and the lower city, right? So 2 mounds, the higher one and the lower one. The higher one is the citadel complex, and the lowest, and the citadel complex means this is the site where you have important buildings and all. Maybe the ruling class stayed there. This is also a theory. And the lower city means the ordinary people. At Lothal and Surkadura, the citadel complex is not separate. So unlike Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, and Kalibangan, lower town and upper town is separate. It is located within the same, settlement. And Dholavira is very, very unique. So this is good to know. Dholavira, it doesn't consist of 2, say lower town, upper town, but it consists of 3 parts. You have the upper town, then you also have a middle town, and then you have a lower town. So these differences in settlement plan is worth knowing. Now, let us come to the structures and building. Now, of course, there would be differences between buildings which we find in large cities and in smaller towns and villages. That's like our times. And the difference was in the type and combination of the materials which were used. As in villages, even now you see, I mean, some houses are made of mud brick, though villages are fast becoming more and more urbanized and modern. But at that time, mostly mud brick with the additional use of mud and reeds. Stone was occasionally used, essentially for foundations or drains. Whereas the buildings in the towns and cities, mostly sun-dried and burnt brick. However, there are some exceptions. For example, in Kutch and Saurashtra, which is a rocky area, there were extensive use of stone. So essentially, you are getting 3 types of materials. One is, of course, clay, and clay which was burnt, so you have bricks, and then you have stone. So 3 types, and mixed with clay, you have reeds. So reeds and mud was packed to give it, additional strength. And in Dholavira, there are massive fortification wall, which is dressed. Dressed is essentially it's cut, given a particular shape, and you also have stone pillars in the citadel. And this is worth knowing because such type of structures are not found at any other Harappan site. So just, a little extra information. with regard to the fortification walls and stone pillar. So something which is not found in any other Harappan site. It is worth knowing. Now, the question is, some of the houses were high, quite high, if you consider the time, particularly if some houses in Mohenjo-daro survive up to a height of 5 feet. So you have to give credit to the strength of the bricks and the bricklaying skill of the masons at Harappa. And there were various styles, but this English bond style is something which you are familiar with. If you have seen, masons, laying stones, you will see that you have stones which are laid at length and then breadth. So you have, so essentially the stretcher, the long side, and then the header. So 2 bricks lying side by side and 2 headers side by side. So this, in alternative arrangement or consecutive rays, gives it a lot of strength. So this is very, very important, and this give maximum load, which is why perhaps, I mean, some houses could survive a height of 5 meters. Now the thing to know is the uniformity in the average size of the big brick. So I'll be very surprised if they give the dimension, but this point is worth knowing, the uniformity. Okay, but here just note there's a difference in the uniformity with the bricks which were needed to build houses and those for the city walls. So the dimensions are different, right? However, the ratio is identical. That is, thickness, width, and length is 1:2:4. So this is good to know, okay, for UPSC. Now, this ratio first makes its appearance in the earlier Harappan site, when in the mature phases it is found in all settlements, which is why this is worth knowing. Doors are windows, woods and mats. Windows perhaps shutters of wood and reed and matting, and lattice work above for light and air. So this was, this is the typical structure of the lower town of Harappa following Mortimer Wheeler. So from town planning, we move on to the houses. So of course, the one on the left is the artist's impression. This is from the original site. This is a well inside a house. Something like this. And this is a very important feature. I mean, bathrooms are linked with health and hygiene, and this is something we tend to neglect, but this is a very important aspect of every household. And very interestingly, just like many modern, household, there are separate bathing areas and toilets. And these are the bathing platforms. And you also have drains, located in rooms next to a wall. Why? Because a small drain led from there, cut through the house wall, and ultimately went to the street where it was connected with the larger sewage drain. And it is believed that multiple storied houses had terracotta pipes so that the water could drains, and more or less all drains were in turn connected with the street drains. Now, moving on to the roads, which is again important for transport and communication, well laid out streets and side lanes, which is a marker of efficient and planning. And also you have well placed drainage systems on the side of the roads, which are very, very interesting. And the historian D.D. Kosambi says that the drainage facility is something which separates Harappan civilization from other civilization. And what is interesting to know, it is not confined to the larger cities only. Smaller town and villages also had impressive drainage system. And another fact is the sewage chutes, that is the discharge chutes. I mean, they were separate for collecting rainwater. So, I mean, the waste water and the rainwater, it does not mix. So this is very, very interesting. I've already mentioned that multiple storied houses had water chutes built inside the wall, and it existed just over the street drain. Terracotta drones were found in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. These were again connected to the large drain, etc. So this we have already spoken about. Now this, I mean, water is something essential for livelihood, and it seems that the Harappans had made elaborate, arrangements for drinking water and bathing. And as far as Indian culture is concerned, this is bathing is also linked with rituals and religion. So what is emphasized here is, of course, purification, bathing, personal hygiene, and religious or ritualistic aspects. Sources: rivers, wells, reservoirs, or system. Mohenjo-daro is particularly noted for its large number of wells. It is estimated that the city of Mohenjo-daro had 700 wells. So if this estimate is correct, so it gives a very high frequency. About every third house had a well. So very, very impressive. 10 to 15 meter deep, lined with special wedge bed bricks to hold water. And you have deep grooves of the rope marks to show that the bucket were pulled in those areas. Most houses or house block at Mohenjo-daro at least had one private well, according to Jansen, at least one in every third house. And apart from that, public wells were also there for the convenience of the people. Compared to Mohenjo-daro, Harappa had much fewer wells, and there's a depression in the city. So historians feel it may have represented a tank or reservoir, which may have served, the water needs of the city's inhabitants. Wells were there in Dholavira, but Dholavira is much more needed for its impressive water reservoirs lined with stone. And this is a site which is noted for its water management. This is very, very important. We will talk about Dholavira in a while. So this is the corbel drains, covered drains, and is this, the artist's impression of how drains could look in the lower town. Moving on. Now we will look at the profiles of some Harappan cities, the major ones, starting with Mohenjo-daro. But of course, we should know that even if there are more than 2,000 sites, okay, very small portion of Harappan sites have been excavated. I mean, there are a lot of, hindrances to archaeologists. Particularly, some could be disputed sites. You have people living. There are defense areas. There can be a temple. There can be a burial. There are areas which is very risky to trade. So a lot of issues. And even in those places where excavations have taken place, it is not that the entire place was excavated, or it was possible to excavate, because there were many sites where archaeologists have just kept it like that, because they know that if they try to touch it, it can be damaged forever. So maybe wait for better times or better technology. So only sections of the settlements have been exposed. So coming to Mohenjo-daro. So right now it's 5 kilometers away from the Indus, but it is assumed that in the proto-historic phase, the river must have flowed much closer and helped the people of the people to use the river in more than one ways, transport and communication, resources from the river, etc. Now, as I mentioned, it had two areas. One was the lower and the higher. So, but there is again an extensive area, larger eastern mound, which has not yet been explored. More or less 200 hectares. And Walter Fairservice, his research stated that, based on the density of houses, he gives an approximate
Sir, can't get you.
Can I be heard now? ঠিক আছে তো? Can I be heard now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Very
Yes, sir.
audible now.
Okay. So this is the problem of technology. What about the screen?
Mohenjo-daro, sir. Mohenjo-daro pictures.
So you can see it, right?
No, sir. No, sir, we
This
cannot
is the
see
last
it.
thing that you heard.
Share
No,
already
sir.
No
applied.
screen, sir. No screen, sir.
Sorry,
So there are
Screen
no
Sir,
share
screen is not
already, sir.
visible.
screen.
Cannot see the PPT.
শুভঙ্কর একটু দেখো ওটা। শুভঙ্কর আছো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার আছি।
একটু দেখো তো, ওরা দেখতে পাচ্ছে না কেন বলছে? আমার এখানে তো দেখাচ্ছে।
স্যার আপনাকে দেখা যাচ্ছে, বাট স্ক্রিন শেয়ার যেটা করেছেন ওটা দেখা যাচ্ছে না স্যার।
না, আমি এতক্ষণ
স্যার একবার আপনি স্ক্রিনটাকে রিশেয়ার করুন।
ওকে। এন্টায়ার স্ক্রিন, তাই তো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
দেখা যাচ্ছে দেখো তো?
No, sir. Yeah. Now it's been seen, sir. I can. Oh,
স্যার এবার দেখা যাচ্ছে।
ওকে 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 গ্রেট,
হ্যাঁ স্যার দেখা যাচ্ছে স্যার।
ঠিক আছে। ওকে, শুভঙ্কর তুমি একটু থেকো, হ্যাঁ, জাস্ট ইন কেস, কারণ
ঠিক আছে স্যার।
প্রেজেন্ট করতে করতে ধরো চলে গেলে না এই ফ্লোটাও নষ্ট হয়ে যায় আর ওদেরও অসুবিধা হয়। পুরো স্ক্রিনটা এসছে দেখো তো?
yes, sir.
হ্যাঁ স্যার স্ক্রিন ভালো দেখা যাচ্ছে স্যার।
Okay, ঠিক আছে. So we were talking about Mohenjo-daro, and you know, the three most important structures that you need to know is the Great Bath, the Granary, and the College of Priests. But with regard to prelims, we'll focus on the Great Bath. We'll talk about the Great Granary. The Great Bath has been defined as an example of the Harappan's engineering skill, which means if there's any question with regard to engineering skills and options, you know what to choose. Okay, so don't bother about the dimensions which are mentioned here. Please, I mean, if you look at the slide, it is mentioned in meters. In some books you will see feet, etc. So don't bother about it. Don't bother about the dimension. I mean, just look at the structure. So essentially you have a pool, you have some which may have served as changing rooms, etc. You also have colonnade, which is columns of pillars. So the pool is not very deep, so it could be used for ritual, which means purification. So you get down from here, you walk down and you come out. I mean, these are the many theories surrounding what the pool could have been used for, and the description is there. But what is important is the way they made it watertight. Okay. Only problem is that at that time they did not have any provision of automatic flow of water. So there was a well. So it is assumed that they used to physically pour water from the well here. But there was an outlet, which means if the water got dirty, the water was drained out. So it is something like this, and these are the views with regard to what it might have been used for. Okay. Now moving on to another important site, which is Chanudharo. Very small site, less than 5 hectares, 30 kilometers from Mohenjo-daro. Okay. Now, just like the site of Mohenjo-daro, maybe Indus flowed nearby, but now it is flowing, almost 20 kilometers away. One single mound, there is no indications or of any fortifications. There are mud brick platforms, and 3 streets have been identified. The main one is more than 5 meters wide. It had covered drains, which was again a very important feature of the Harappan civilization. But Chanudharo was very, very important as a center of craft activity. So this is something you should look out for, because the house, I mean, when a lot of houses yielded various kind of precious and semi-precious materials like carnelian, agate, amethyst, and crystal, as well as finished and unfinished beads and drills to drill through the beads so that thread could be passed to make the finished product. But very, very interesting was the discovery of a bead factory. So this is another information to look out for. So it is assumed, because a lot of finished and unfinished beads mostly made of steatite, which was a very common material. So it is assumed that Chanudaro was an important craft center, and perhaps you have a bead factory here. So any question on bead factory, Chanudaro is the one to choose. Apart from that, seal making, shell working seems to be important. Now I was talking about the granary, which at one point of time was believed to be both in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, but now it is questioned, because in both Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, the structures which you see here, this is based on, Harappa. I mean, there is total absence of any charred grains or, storage containers where, these grains were found. Total absence. So then the question is, why, great granary? So these are based on the structures which were found in Rome. So these kind of structures were used as granaries. So the assumption that these may have served as granary. Okay. So which is why you see the question mark here in both Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. But historians such as R.C. Majumdar, Ramesh Chandra Majumdar, A.L. Basham, they state that these were actually granary, and A.L. Basham particularly, has compared these granaries to a state bank. Just like a bank, functions in where people, keep their resources. So grains were stored. It might have been used for emergencies, or the theory that grains were collected as form of tax and kept at one place, etc., or grains were kept and it might have been used for trading. So it has been compared to a state bank by A.L. Basham. So you have a platform. So this is the artist's impression based on the structure. So you have a platform. Most probably the platform, if it indeed was a granary, so you have a platform, raised platform, perhaps to save it from flood waters or water in general. And then you have two blocks, right? And you have a path in between. So these two blocks had 6 rooms. So it may be assumed that there were various types of grains were stored. And you also have a raised platform. It is assumed that those grains were threads there to remove the chaff from the grain. Okay. Remains of small quarters have been found. These are assumed to be workers' quarters, so they cannot go back every day to their law town and come back. So most probably the workers were, staying so that they could come and work in the granary. But having said all this, please remember that these are now being questioned, whether these were at all, granaries. Moving on to another important site, Kalibangan. I think in one UPSC question you had, what is the meaning of Kalibangan? It means black bangles. Why? Because a lot of bangles of terracotta shell and other materials were found. Kalibangan is located at the bank of the Gaggar River. So again, any question with regard to pairing of sites with river. So this is something to note, look out for. Again, very small site. But another important aspect of Kalibangan is the discovery of a large number of fire altars. Okay. So this is important to know. Moving on to Lothal, of course, one of the most important site. Again, the location is important. Sabarmati River and its tributary. Remember Bhogava. This you should remember. Again, the sea is away, but at one point of time, it might have been a closer. Modest settlement. You also have the Acropolis and remains of residential buildings, street, lanes, pathing pavement, etc., etc. But I'm not going into the details. What is Lothal is essentially famous for, of course, this is the most distinctive feature, and it is assumed that it is the world's, earliest dockyard, right? Now, this is something again, it's part of a general knowledge question, in fact, right? So trapezoidal, I mean, if you look at the structure, it's shaped like this, so therefore trapezoidal, okay, and parallel. So again, don't bother about, for the prelims, I don't bother about the dimension, okay, but these raised, a size, it is believed that they were wharfs, which means, boats were docked and you have a landing strip, and so it's easier to load or unload goods. So it was rough. Moving on to Dholavira, location is important. Rann of Kutch in Gujarat, Kadir Island. And architecture of Dholavira, large scale use of sandstone. See, it is there in italics. So this is something look out for, good to know. And another interesting feature which I have not talked about before or is usually not mentioned is a large open area which is now referred to as the stadium. So just, be careful with regard to this. Dholavira, of course, very, very important for water harvesting and management, but now you also have a additional, information, an open area, which is referred to as the stadium. Okay. I will also ask you to, look at this. Remains of limestone pillar bases and pillar fragments, highly polished. So what it has done, very, very significant. This discovery has taken the history of monumental stone. That means the history of making monuments in India. Okay, not from the time of Ashoka, so which is by 4th century BC, the Mauryan period. Ashokan, the reference is with the Ashokan pillars, but it is taken that history back, right, to the 3rd millennium BC when the Harappan civilization existed. So this is something, to keep in mind, because so many years, if you look at the various kind of notes in circulation in the bazaar, Dholavira, water management, water harvesting, nothing else. But I am asking you to look out for this and this. These two are interesting information, because you know what, more and more studies of these sites, and it's good to be informed about these special features. Aladino. Aladino is again very, very small. Location it's in Pakistan right now. But what is very, very important is profusion of gold, silver, bronze, agate, and essentially precious metals. Okay. So this is very important. Apart from that, wells. But there's a difference in the wells found in Aladino and other sites. The diameter of the wells, the mouth range only from 60 centimeter to 90 centimeter, very small. So historians and archaeologists, they assume that this is to create water pressure and get the water from lower levels to higher levels, because water, it follows its own level. So a kind of hydraulic pressure was essentially enabled, which is why the mouths are closed. Right? If the mouth is large, pressure reduces. If it's small, the pressure of the water and the small, opening leads to, the height. So this is what is being stated here. So these are the information with regard to Aladino that you should look out for. Moving on to the subsistence bait. Now we were so far talking about all the physical features. Now what the Harappans were sustaining on. Of course, agriculture was the mainstay. I will ask you to focus on the principal cereals. Okay, rice, legumes, etc. But again, they wore wearing clothes. So fragments of cotton found in Mohenjo-daro. This is something to look out for. And apart from that, there were other sources, riverine and marine sources, both vegetable, non-vegetable, etc. So like we are used to. Kalibangan is important in this context because you have crisscross furrow marks, which means maybe the plow was from, say, east to west and then from north to south, so indicating maybe multiple cropping, right? So this is something which is followed in India even today. So this is an important fact that you should know. And with regard to evidence of plows, you have two evidences, one in Banawali. So far, you talked about Banawali only, but it is important to know that Bhavalapur in Pakistan is also important. So far in the text, you are usually talking about Banawali, but there's another site which is important, Bhavalapur, and also at Mohenjo-daro. So with regard to the domestication, seals, of course, give us evidence, but bones have been, of animals have been found. So from there, the various kind of animals, bird, etc., fish bones. So I'm going into all those. Now, crafts and industry. This is very important. Harappan civilization is referred to as Bronze Age civilization, but mostly unalloyed copper was used for manufacturing artifacts. Anyone? Why? I mean, bronze, even if it was found in less quantity, it's referred to as Bronze Age civilization. Anyone? Why do you think they're using the term Bronze Age civilization? Because they had moved, past that stage of copper, moved on to the stage of bronze, right? So even if it was used less, you still have to, term it as such, right? So various kinds of tools, weapons, etc. Cornelian beads are important here, but the most important fact that you have to know is seals. And here, of all the artifacts, this seal has been defined as the most distinctive artifact. This is something you should remember. And the material is steatite. So seal is the most distinctive artifact of the Harappan civilization. It was made of steatite. Okay. So apart from that, its usage, etc., is mentioned here. Now, moving on to the seal, important craft, its shape, again, forget the diameters, but if you look at this picture, you can make out it was pretty small. And you also have a perforation at the back, which means a small hole through which you can pass, a thread. So suppose if this is the seal and it has a thread, so you can, pass your finger through the thread and, mark it. So seals again marked of steatite, but what I would ask you to remember is the most common animal picture on seals. Out of 1,524 showing animals of all the seals found, more than 1,159 had the one-horned mythical animal unicorn. So this is the most common animal picture on the seal, but it is mythical creature. Why? Very difficult to say. Okay. Moving on to other interesting aspects, various kinds of material. Gold has been found. It could have come from Karnataka based on the alloy, This is on the basis of metallurgists and experts. Other important materials and their source: copper, for example, Rajasthan and Balochistan; timber from Gujarat. These are something you should remember. Pottery is important, and the phase that we are talking about, mature Harappan, this is essentially pretty advanced, right? So the pots were painted black on bright red surface, right? So the base is red, and on top of that you have, black. So various kind of designs pointing to it, the advanced nature of pottery making. Few examples. And pottery is important because when you look at pottery, you can also make out what its usage is where. And pottery is a very important artifact also because through pottery you get to know the advancement, right? The designs, the shape, the polish, the color. Now, these are indicators of how one site was more advanced than the other site. So pottery is a very important indicator. Moving on to trade, so it cannot have been only agriculture from where they got their resources. Another important aspect is trade, because when you see such sophisticated buildings in those times, planning, etc., a lot of resources must have been pumped to create that kind of structure. So the standard of living must have been through trade, which played an important role. So three types of trade. One is, of course, internal, local. One is zonal, one zone to another zone, and one is international, local to outside that area. And the various kind of products linked to trade and their possible sources. So these are highlighted. I'm not reading all of them, but in any case you'll be getting the slides, so don't worry. So these are the highlighted ones, as you should look out for. So this is a slide I would ask you to be careful with, because when we talk about external trade with Harappa, the term Mehula is mentioned in the Mesopotamian texts, and it has been generally identified with the Harappan people. Okay, so with the Mehula, the major exports, and then you also have Dilmun, which is the Bahrain region. It is believed that it acts as an intermediary between the Harappan civilization and the Mesopotamian. And standardized weights and measures, they facilitated trade. Incidentally, the highest this weight with regard to the Harappan civilization is 10.865 grams. Worth knowing. Now, why I say this slide is important is because of this. UPSC frequently test in ancient names, nature of evidences, trade mechanism, which is why this particular slide is important. Moving on to the arts, you must have can you see the entire slide with the figure of the dancing girl and the information beside it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so figure of a dancing girl, but now this has been questioned, because at one point of time her posture and poise made us seem that it is a mudra of dancing, but now this is being questioned, right? And Loschmack method is something which is used even now. Okay, this is a bronze structure. The other important is, of course, the priest king or the figure of a bearded man, half eye closed, so as if in a meditative pose, very, very realistic. What is important is his dress, highly ornamented, even his, uh, beard is well groomed. He has a headband, so seems that he's an important persona. So this is the back sides, and I have included seals because these depictions are also very prominent. So these should also be included in arts. So if you look at this, you get to know the kind of animals which were associated with the civilization. Whatever the artist saw, he depicted on, the seals. Very, very realistic. You did not have, cameras, videos, but this actually opens up a window as far as, the civilization is concerned. Apart from that, you have various kind of, terracotta models. So if you look at this model, elaborate headgear, a lot of jewelry. So pretty fashionable people, frankly speaking. I mean, I showed you pictures of, no, I'll be talking about jewelry. So moving on to this dress and ornaments. Of course, no actual clothing has come to light, but if you judge, the figures which we just saw, from there you can get an idea of the way they were dressing themselves and what could have been used to spin thread. Charka type machines have been found in Mohenjo-daro. So again, if you look at the types of jewelry which has been found, these are the types, even, everything from rings to kamarbands to hairbands to wristlet, everything was there. Very, very fashionable people. Cosmetics, so collyrium, vermilion, collyrium, kajol, vermilion, shidur. So this is those small vases where you must be having cosmetics. So this is an artist. They just put a stick. Objects of vanity, hairpin, perhaps a vase holding either collyrium or vermilion. This is mirror. Moving on to the script, again, very, very enigmatic, but what we should remember is almost 400. Some people say even more, but this is from Utinder Singh. So it is logosyllabic, right? Where two or more sequence would represent either a complete word, a sound, or sometimes even a sentence. The script was written from right to left. So right to left, a few C's you have was in the second line, but it starts from the left. So right to left, then left to right, but in very few scenes. Now, was there a political setup? So this is again related to the social stratification. I mean, it is very tempting to talk about this because you have a upper town, you have a lower town, you have a middle town, and then various kind of activities where people were involved with regard to crafts or say trade. But what is very, very interesting is how everything was managed. Say, for example, uniformity in streets, uniformity in breed. So there must have been a control mechanism. So these are factors which point to a political setup. So it is assumed that the elite class may have been associated with the citadel, so they lived in the upper town. Then there might have been a middle class and relatively weaker class. So who could have been settling, you get an idea. This is something I wanted to talk about because religion in India is very, very personal as well as touchy, controversial, but you have enough evidence of, religious practice in Harappa. So these are the 7, evidences that we get from Harappa with regard to their religion. But I should also mention that there are some objects which we haven't been able to decipher. So we really do not know what they actually try to explain or mean. So there are 2 aspects of the religion. One is conceptual, which is in Banglate যেটাকে বলে ধারণাগত, and another is darshanik and philosophical. Another is ritualistic. This ritualistic part is these worship of mother goddess, which we even do now. Male deity, whether it's Shiva, will come to know. Worship of animals, this is also something we do. Cow, say for example, tulsi gach, people tree, etc. Worship of tree in the natural state, dwelling spirit, linga yoni, etc. Charms in amulets and tabiz, madhuli, etc., etc. And yoga, which is again linked to religion. These are the evidences. This is the figure which was once stated to be, Shiva Pashupati, but this is now contested. Shirin Ratnagar actually has contested this. But if you look at the seal, it shows a, very divine figure with horns, elaborate headgear, and surrounded by, animals: elephant, tiger, rhino, buffalo. So Pashupati. But Shirin Ratnagar says that, the prototype of Shiva that we see in Vedic text, there it is mentioned that, Pashupati Shiv is the lord of domestic animals, right? But if you look at the seals, these are, wild animals, not domestic animals. So this is the argument she puts forward. So whether this is Pashupati is now contested. But interestingly, this is from Kalibangan, almost the kind of Shiva Linga that we see today, the union of the male and the female sex organ, the yoni and the linga. Okay, so a lot of similarities with today's worshipping objects. So there's a tendency among historians to suggest that maybe this is the prototype of the cult of worship of Shiva from that time onwards. But we need to be a bit careful. So elaborate ritual practices, again depiction on seal. This is fantastic depiction. Some kind of ritual with the shaman, observers, and a deity maybe standing on a tree. So this is the mythical creature that I was talking about, the most featured object on the seal, the unicorn. But then you also have these conjoined animals. What they signify is very, very difficult to know because the Harappan script has not been, deciphered. Now, apart from that, religion is also, sacrifices, fire altars are also linked to our religious system. A large number of them has been found in Gujarat, Rajasthan, but I already mentioned Kalibangan. So Kalibangan, apart from that crisscross field, sacrificial altar. So this is an important aspect which you should know. However, this is something which you should remember, like irrespective of all kind of speculation surrounding their religion, no temple-like structure, no temple-like worship has been found in the entire, Harappan civilization, the ones which has been excavated. So this is something which we should know. Now we move on to the last, part of our discussion, which is the theories of decline. Now, earlier there has to be theories of, natural factors, artificial factors, etc. But the way the theory of decline has now been discussed is a bit different. For example, Irfan Habib, he talks about symptoms. Okay, he's saying that around 2000 BC, the towns and cities are not just to be found. That means till 2000 BC, you might be having towns and cities, but after that, there is no evidence of towns and which means he's not moving directly to the decline. What he's talking about is symptoms. Say, for example, we have fever. Fever indicates that something is wrong, right? It is not the disease. So he's talking about those symptoms. So what are the symptoms? Encroachment. So you have well-planned street, but now you have encroachment on the street. Then you have a well-planned out drainage system, but in the later part of the civilization, as we move closer and closer towards the age of decline, which is 1900 BC, it seems that these drainage systems were not, repaired. Okay, then the houses were clumsily built, or reused bricks were used. So the question is, what was happening to the administration? Was the city, losing its grip on the citizen? So these are the kind of questions which he asks. Okay, say fire bricks rarely occur, so you are moving back. Instead of more advanced brick, you are the same reused brick or mud bricks. These are being used. That is what he's actually trying to say. And you don't find Indus weight, then the Indus pottery is replaced by coarser forms. So these are the kind of evidences that he talks about. So what was happening? So these are the symptoms that he talks about, and these symptoms lead us to the theories. So what could have happened? Why was this happening? So flood. So the flood, which was caused by earthquake, this was pointed out by these three: M.R. Sahani, Robert L. Ricks, and George F. Dulles. Now, what did they say? Huge tectonic movement of the plates. So it is creating a gigantic natural dam. So what happened? It prevented the Indus from flowing to the sea and overflowing river. And it is causing a lot of destruction because silting is suggested in various sites. Then you have, traces of flood, which excavators are located at major sites: Mohenjo-daro, Chanhu-daro, and Lothal. But the question is it possible that the flood was of such volume to overflow everything, that a huge area of Punjab, Sindh, and Gujarat simultaneously? So in 1967, this flood theory has been refuted, and he states that the Indus changed its course, moving eastward. So what it could have done, it essentially, instead of flood, it essentially starved the inhabitants of Mohenjo-daro. But of late, Upender Singh has actually challenged this. I will kind of remind you not to go into much of the names of the historian, but just to remember that what were the popular theories put forward by scholars. Now, opposite of flood is dryness. Again, so this is Gurdeep Singh. He's a palynologist. That is, he looks at pollen grains, and from there, the other kind of flora and fauna. So he collected some pollen grains from Saline Lake, and he said that there was a wet phase followed by a dry phase, as a result of which the Saraswati dried up. So this caused a natural disaster, and the civilization could not recover. And in the same thesis, archaeologist Virendranath Mishra, he suggested it was not lower rainfall, but the desertation of the Gaga River. Okay, so the Gaga River is changing its course, so it is drying up. But now it has been rejected because conditions of present-day aridity prevailed, since a long time. So this theory is now being questioned. What about human intervention? Walter Fairservice, he said that, you know, the Indus people over-cultivated, over-grazed and deforested the land, so a lot of vegetation was cut up and it led to disaster. But Irfan Habib, he's actually questioning this. He said the Indus population could not have been denser, I mean, than 6% to a square kilometer. So there was enough space. And in any case, if they had exhausted one side, they could have simply moved on to another side and cultivated. So these are the questions he raises with regard to, you know, the human intervention and the decay of ecology. Another theory is the one which was put forward by Shirin Ratnagar. She stated that because there was a cessation, that is the trade between Mesopotamia and Harappan civilization, it ceased with regard to the lapis lazuli trade, and it was so important. I mean, a lot of resources was coming through the trade. So commerce and industry, it dried up and it led to the ruin. But this theory has been questioned by Irfan Habib. He said, was it so important? I mean, what about the other, resources through agriculture and other areas? So it cannot be possible that just lapis lazuli trade will lead to the decline. Irfan Habib actually talks about a possible political factor. He says that Indus civilization could not have spread so much without one city which was dominating other city, right? So if this was so, there was a ruling class, but he gives a suggestion that as time went on, the ruling class, which was actually controlling the other communities, there was a shift in armed power, which means the kind of weapons or resources which these people now got matched those of the rulers, so the rulers could not actually contain them. So with regard to the administrative decline, this can be a factor, is his theory. He also points to an external aggression, but it is not the Aryan invasion. He's pointing out that near the Indus civilization, you have examples of two civilizations which were disturbed very brutally. One is the Helmand civilization, which is named after the Helmand River in Afghanistan. Here, the two major cities, Shahar-e-Shokhta and Mundikak, it came to a sudden end and it was abandoned. Okay, and there are violent, the traces of violence in those areas. So is it possible that there was an external element which was destroying the outlying civilization and then moving towards the Indus? Because first you have the Helmand, then you have the closer neighbor, which is Kot Diji, okay, which is now in Sindh in Pakistan. So they are also destroyed. Okay, so it seems to have been burned, houses destroyed. So what was exactly happening? Was an external factor, encroaching and destroying these, and these are nearer to the Indus civilization. So he says first the outer region, then the inner region, and then Indus civilization. So like in concentric circles. So he says the Helmand was overwhelmed, then Kot Diji, and finally Indus. So it is possible that it is an external aggression, right? Because now the Aryan the theory is contested. Now this is essentially the theory. I mean the evidence based on which Aryan invaders. 38 skeletons were found in natural state as if they could not escape. And Mortimer Wheeler, he said that these were Aryans because from his reference in the Rig Veda there is the epithet of Purandar, that is fort destroyer. So you have citadels in Harappan cities. So Purandar must be the Aryan god who destroyed forts. And he also identified a place called Haryopia. So Haryopia in the Rig Veda was actually Harappa. So this is what he stated. This was supported by the Indian scholar Ramaprasad Chandra, but later he changed his mind. But now this Aryan debate, this Aryan invasion theory has been criticized because very simply, archaeological evidence, radiocarbon analysis does not put the end of Indus Valley civilization beyond 1900, right? And the Vedic civilization, it starts from 1500 BC. So there's a clear gap of 400 years. Okay. So this 400-year gap cannot be explained. So this Aryan theory is now totally ruled out. Now, these are some of the facts that you should know. Now, do you have a pen and paper in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just take it out, and what I want you to do, just based on the basic information, which is, the discovery and the extent, there's a short test, right? So what I want you to do, take the test, right, and give yourself marks, okay, and see how you fare, okay? Each question will be of 30 seconds duration. Then I'll change the slide. So you try to answer the question and write the option. Then we'll discuss the answer. At the end of it, you should calculate the marks. Each question is 2 marks. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So max 30 seconds for each question. Again, I'm saying this is based on very basic information we have given. So this is a kind of practice which you can also do at home. You get basic information and what are the kind of options or the type of question which you can get from these information. Now, remember this slide, discovery?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, based on this, we are trying to see how much we can recall and recollect. So this is a test of recollection and the test of recall. So the first question. Done? Should I move to the next question?
Yes, sir.
Consider this 1, 2, 3. Done? Is it done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, coming back to the first question, which is the correct option?
Sir, A.
Option D.
Sir, A. Option A.
Now, those who have answered A,
D.
why? Why
Sir,
is it
D
A?
option.
Sir, the official announcement was done in 1924, the international paper which was published. So
Correct.
it was before.
So the answer is A, because when you are trying, I mean, when you are looking at this question, don't jump. Try to see which is the right option. Try to eliminate the wrong ones. Elimination and arriving at the correct option should be the methodology. Okay. This.
So this is also A.
Any other option, anyone?
A.
Yes. John Marshall oversaw the excavation of both Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, and Alexander Cunningham held office as Director General of ASI before John Marshall. Correct. Okay. 30 seconds. And mark yourself. If you're correct, give yourself 2 marks. If not, give yourself 0. And at the end of the test, you see how you were able to perform. Okay. Done? Which is the correct option?
Sir, C.
Why?
C.
What is the logic? Why did you choose C? Is it because you dived into the right answer or something else? You have to give me the logic also.
D.
Why D?
Harappa is a river, Ravi River.
Yes.
Mohenjo-daro, Indus,
Okay.
and Mohenjo-daro then Punjab province.
So
Sir, Harappa is Ravi River and Mohenjo-daro is Indus. So that means by elimination, Harappa is in the district-wise Montgomery. Now it is Sahiwal.
correct. Rivers and provinces in the other options are swapped. This should be the logic. Great. So answer is C. See, I'm asking you to, eliminate and arrive at the right answer. Because there can be moments where you know some facts, you don't know all the facts. So what to do? Now look at this statement. Done?
Sir, C.
Why? What is the logic?
So we just said that Harappa is on the Ravi River and
Okay.
and Mohenjo-daro is Indus. So they cannot be on the same river system.
Yes.
And both sites were indeed excavated under the directorship of John Marshall,
Yes.
and they are located in the Sahiwal in Sahiwal district in Pakistan. So they're
Right.
both in Pakistan, which means A is correct.
Great. Very good. I'm very happy with the logic with which you eliminated the other three and arrived at the correct answer. This is the way actually to proceed.
So I have one question, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, in geography, we learned that under the Indus River system, we have the Ravi River.
Hmm.
So they are both the different rivers. Indus and
Hmm.
Ravi are different river, but Ravi comes under the Indus River system.
Hmm.
And here in the third option, it is given that along the same river system mentioned.
Hmm.
So obviously, Indus River under the Indus River system only, both Harappa and Mohenjo-daro should lie.
Yes, I get your point. Which is the reason I gave it. Here they are asking to be very, very specific. Okay. See, if it's a 2-mark question, you have statement which are absolutely correct. Okay. For that you will get 2. Some statements are almost correct. So you will get 1.5, right? So
Okay, sir.
consider it like that, right? And here,
Okay, sir.
I mean, what they have asked is which of the statement given are correct. You may choose, I mean, your option, but the marks will vary. Okay. If anyone finishes, we can start discussing.
Sir, A.
Any other option, anyone? Okay. So you arrived at A, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me why.
Sir, Harappa was the first site to be discovered. That means it has been discovered before Mohenjo-daro,
Okay.
and the chronology should be 2 before 3. The B, C, and D option are given where 3 is before 2. The first option is the correct.
Correct. Good. It is A. Okay. But this is a kind of trick question because usually Alexander Cunningham is often wrongly placed after the excavation. Remember that. Okay. Now, consider this statement. So what we are trying to see is here, you just have 5 names. Alexander Cunningham, John Marshall, you have Dayaram Sahani, you have Rakhaldas Bandyopadhyay, you have Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and announcement. So just these 5 facts and the kind of questions which you get from these. But as you can see from the exercise, people are getting it wrong. So what UPSC does, I mean, very well-known facts, they will try to confuse you. Okay. They will try to make the certain facts uncertain. That is because this prelims is an elimination. Okay. So it is very, very important to know how to eliminate the wrong options and arrive at the right, rather than choosing the right. If you jump at the right, you try to target the right one, sometimes you may get it wrong.
So the answer is A.
Please
Yes, sir.
explain.
A.
Explain.
Sir, the discovery was announced in 1924, and
Okay.
the announcement did in fact take place after both of the excavations were done. Since
Okay.
but the announcement was done in the Illustrated London News, which is a British publication. So it was not done
Correct.
in the Indian
Yes.
government publication.
It is. This is the logic. So not in an Indian government publication, right? So how many questions did we answer till now? How many questions?
6.
6. Anyone 12 out of, anyone 12? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Great. Good going. Only one. Full marks. Anyone else? Anyone who's got, full marks till now, apart from one student? I mean, this is the problem of online classes. I'm not sure how many are actually following this and responding. Anyway,
Sir, C.
why?
Sir, Harappa was excavated before Mohenjo-daro. We know it. We've
Okay.
been reading, and I'll tell you the year also just in case. So Harappa was done in 1921, and Mohenjo-daro 1922. So this becomes first.
Mhm.
Then second, R.D. Banerjee excavated a site located in Sindh. I remember it, but which site I don't exactly remember.
Okay. Go on.
Then third, John Marshall is regarded John Marshall is not regarded. In fact, Alexander Cunningham is the father of Indian archaeology. So here I get this wrong. And Alexander Cunningham served as the Director General of ASI. He was the first Director General of the ASI. So this is also correct. So,
Correct. So here the trick question is father of Indian archaeology, Alexander Cunningham. Yes. So the answer is C. This one? Just try to recall.
sir, this
So
is
B
Sir,
option.
B. Option B.
Why? What is the logic?
Sir, was the site which is located beside the river Ravi,
Correct.
and it was discovered by Dayaram Sahani only.
Okay.
So option B.
But what about C, D?
Sir, the first site to be excavated was in 1921, and that
Correct.
was Harappa. So it
Mhm.
cannot be Mohenjo-daro.
Mhm.
And the excavation was done under the supervision of John Marshall, but not by himself.
Yes.
And Mohenjo-daro was not excavated by Alexander Cunningham. None of the sites were excavated by under the supervision of Alexander Cunningham.
Great. So here, you are essentially, what you are doing is multi-layer filtering. Okay. The year, the river, and the excavator to arrive at, 100%, correct option. Great. This one. Logically inferred. Okay. Logically inferred.
Option B.
Option?
Yes, sir, option B.
Option B.
Why?
So John Marshall did not conduct all the excavation personally. So A is
Okay.
eliminated.
Okay.
And C, again, Alexander Cunningham was not there when the Harappa was excavated. So C is
Okay.
eliminated, and D is eliminated as well by the year of
Hmm.
1921 and 1922. So we
No, just give me D again once more.
Mohenjo-daro was discovered before Harappa. No, the Harappa was discovered before Mohenjo-daro. Harappa was in 1921 and Mohenjo-daro is 1922.
Hmm.
So we come to the option B. So the discovery of Harappan civilization was recognized internationally by the publication in the illustration of sir, I
Illustrated
forgot the
news.
name.
Okay. And
Yeah.
that's okay. That's okay. Good. Good. I'm just trying to see the recall. Okay. So we have moving from the discovery to the extent. This might be a bit difficult, but worth it. But I'm not taking you to that slide where you mentioned it. But I gave you 5 names again. Of them, 4 are here. So try to remember the map.
Sir, option A.
Option
A.
A.
Because Sutka Gendor is in Pakistan, so if we eliminate 4,
great.
then it only is then only option A stays because all the rest
Right,
of
right. Yes. And okay, fine. Let us move on to the next question. Maybe. Yeah. This should be easier to answer given the other question which you answered just now.
Sir, option A.
Option.
So option A.
Because Sutka Gendor is in the western extreme
Right.
west, and Alamgirpur is in Uttar Pradesh, which is
Correct. Very good.
east.
Yeah. So you got the 2 points. Turkandor, Makran Coast, Alamgirpur, UP. So east west done. So Manda and Malwa remains. Great. 1, 2, 3. And here there was west to east. Good going. Okay. This is the easiest question, I think.
C. Option C.
Right.
Option C.
Because we
Option?
already know.
Why 2?
Sir, I told option C because Manda is already in northernmost side, so that stays to only option A and C. And we
But
already
I heard someone said option B. I mean, if that student can say why he chose that, because this will be beneficial for all. So we will get to know what is confusing you. Someone just stated B. Why? Because there might be a logic behind choosing B. Why? Anyone? I mean, I'm asking that student who just said option 2 to speak.
Sir, other than the one who is answering, I answered. So I answered only C. So I didn't say B.
Oh, but someone said B, no? I heard someone said B, no?
I don't know, but the one who is answering, other than him, I only answered.
Because, I thought someone must be wondering, that Shorter is also towards the northern side, right? But that's an isolated site. So the option would be B. Okay. Oh, this is done. This should take you 10 seconds.
So option B, sure to Ghai.
Short way. Okay.
Sir, option D.
Option
D.
B.
D. Option D.
D. Okay. Go on.
Because, sir, we already know that it is quite logical that more than 2000 excavations has already been done, because
Right.
it's almost 100 years.
Mhm.
Till now, till today also, we see many discoveries are going on related to
Okay.
Harappan. So,
Okay.
so we get 1 and 2 and 3 is already we know that Sutkagandar is in the westernmost, easternmost side. Sorry, Sutkagandar is in the westernmost side and Alamgir
Mhm.
is in the easternmost side.
Yes. These were comparatively easier. Okay. What about this one? Best explains. Best explains. Okay. You need to relook at the question.
So I think it's C, extensive trade and cultural integration.
Please go on. Give your logic.
So presence of centralized imperial administration, we know that that was there, but that doesn't matlab, I mean এটা centralized imperial administration কোনোদিনও geographical spread কে amplify করে না, মানে সেটা ছোট
Okay.
জায়গাতেও centralized হতে পারে।
Good, good.
And
Carry
second
on.
thing, uniformity of religious practice, again সেটা ওই geographical এর সাথে কোন geography এর সাথে কোনো religious practice এর যোগাযোগ নেই, ওটা
Okay.
ছোট
But
জায়গাতেও হতে পারে,
just try
বড়
to
জায়গাতেও।
answer in the English language for the sake
Okay,
of everybody.
so the
So this
uniformity
will
of
also
religious
help you us communicate. I know it's an alien language, but
religious practice doesn't implicate the geographical spread of Harappan sites. I mean, religious practice uniformity can also be kept in a small place. In the riverine agriculture, the Harappan civilization was not solely dependent on riverine agriculture.
Correct.
It also practices the trade and many things. So
Mhm.
I think the C is.
And you're right. But and if you have seen the the previous year prelims questions, or if you have seen the trend, UPSC, what they try to do is they often they link geography, trade, interaction, cultural integration. So this is one type of question. So you're right. This is a direct question. If you remember, this is the naming,
So C, John Marshall.
right? Okay. Inadequate. Best explains.
Sir, I think option A. Option A.
Right. Any other option? Why option A? Tell me.
Because, sir, we already know it was spread. B cannot be, because Indus Valley civilization is known for its urban features only. So we can eliminate B. And Indus Valley civilization, we also know is spread beyond Indus Valley too.
No, you are eliminating B.
Yes, sir. Eliminating B, because we already know that Indus Valley civilization is known for its urban features. So option B cannot be true.
Okay. Correct. Go on.
And option C 2 can be eliminated because there were many sites which are beyond the Indus Valley too.
Hmm.
And
I mean, did you understand the question? The question is why it is considered inadequate.
Sir, the
C.
answer,
So
C.
answer is C, sir.
Yes. See, the explanation is a vast area beyond the Indus. I mean, which is why I said best explains and inadequate. See how UPSC, this is what UPSC will do. It will confuse you. Very simple facts, just, wordings. Okay. The essentially why it is considered inadequate. I mean, of course, we know Harappan, Indus Valley civilization is used synonymously, but they are asking why it is considered inadequate. Okay. And they have given 4 options. So there can be only one option. Okay. So this is what UPSC does. Now, try this one. I'll give you max 30 seconds. Done? Anyone? Statements correct. Okay. So okay. Answers. Waiting. What are you thinking? Just let me hear.
So option B, 2 and 3 is correct. 2 and 3 are correct.
B.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure of the fact that Mortimer Wheeler proposed the term Indus civilization. I guess it's John Marshall who termed that civilization Indus Valley civilization.
So
That's why I eliminated 1.
Okay. Then
And so the 3 is correct automatically. And the 2, the option 2, the shift in nomenclatures due to the discovery of Harappan type site, that is Mohenjo-daro, after that is, oh, it's not outside the Indus Valley.
yeah.
Oh,
Any other option?
I don't know.
Sir, can I try?
Please.
Sir, John Marshall, how will he object? He
Yes.
was the one, na? He
Yes.
gave
Who
the.
is
Yes.
the to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So, automatic.
I mean, you were going
Yes, sir,
correctly.
you correct.
Wheeler termed Indus.
Huh.
But
So
the
he gave that
objection-
Indus Valley civilization or
Yeah,
Indus
but the
civilization.
objection was what?
Objection.
Because
Nah.
objection was due to the discovery of Harappan type sites outside the valley, right?
But that was not confined to the
Correct.
Indus.
Yes.
Yes. So,
But he named it, but he did
yes,
not object to it.
correct.
Okay. This is
Then-
slightly, but it took, but did you see one thing? It took a lot of your time. It consumed a lot of your time.
Yes, yes.
The idea is, see, right now I'm giving you 30 seconds, right? But when you are actually sitting for the exam, the ones you will be able to answer very fast. So you save time on that. Even if you give yourself 30 seconds, if you manage to answer it within 15 seconds or 10 seconds, you get more time to think for the other questions. So this question, it took a lot of your time. Okay. This is very simple. But I doubt if this question will come. It should not, but still. Because lots of opposition and okay. I think I mentioned this, no? So just give yourself 5 seconds to answer this because it's a direct question. Anyone?
Sir, D.
D, it's D. It's D. Incidentally, he was a member of the NCERT, committee, the French Indian academic. Okay. I know we are running out of time, but just 2 more. How many questions did we attempt?
Sir, almost 20 questions.
Almost. This is the 19th or the 20th?
20th.
Okay, great. So we can, after that, we can stop and maybe you can tally and see how you fared. Okay. Now. Rationale.
Sir, C.
So C.
Tell me
C.
why you chose C.
So, there was no archaeological evidence found from Ganga Valley. That was a different valley civilization. And there was no literary reference in Mahabharata of Indus civilization.
Great. So A, B gone.
And the trade relations, Mesopotamia, there was trade relations with Mesopotamia,
Yes, it's a
but
correct statement. It's a
so
correct
that,
statement, but it cannot be the rationale beyond terming it Sindhu Saraswati.
yeah, this cannot be related with Indus Saraswati civilization term. So the option C is correct.
Option is C.
Gagra,
Okay.
Hakra.
So we have done, how many? 20, right? How many
Yes, sir.
questions? 20. So
Yes,
there
sir.
were a few more questions. Maybe how many questions? Maybe 3 more. So if you have time, will you or will you want to stop? I had 3 more questions. What do you want to do? Do you want to stop or
So we
maybe
can do 3
So
questions.
we can
It's
do-
fine.
okay?
Yes,
Fast,
we think we
fast.
should.
Okay, fast, huh? Because I have to release Shubhankar also.
Sir, the answer is A. A.
Right?
Sir, because the name Indus Saraswati civilization is not universally accepted among historians.
Hmm.
It because it shares the same objections to the term Indus Valley civilization, which means 1 is wrong, 2 is correct, and
Okay.
3 is also correct because it is based off of both archaeological and literary considerations.
Correct. Fast. This is, of course, more factual. So this should be a rapid.
So option C.
So C, sir.
Yes, it's
C,
C.
sir.
Okay. Again, this will maybe consume a bit of time, but with the terms associated, terms, okay?
Sir, A.
Sorry? C,
No, I think A, but
A. I don't think you're reading the question properly. With the
Sir,
term,
B.
yes, it is
Sir,
B.
B.
It is B. Okay. So how many questions did we answer today? 23. Or how many?
Yes, sir. In my counting, it is 23.
Okay, 23. So 23 into 2 is 46. Anyone 46? Anyone full marks? 46? Anyone? Okay, 44.
Yes, sir.
Great, very good. 42. Anyone 42?
Yes, sir.
40. 40, anyone? No 40? No 40. Oh, yes, okay. So anything less than 40, you will not be, happy with yourself, frankly speaking, because, it's highly competitive and it will be eliminating round kind of the prelims. But, don't be disappointed. You just need to push yourself a bit and you will improve. Okay. So don't worry, this was just the first test. So, what I'll be doing from now on, I'll be doing less of teaching because, this crash course is not something that you need to, revise again and again in terms of teaching. It is something that you need to know what to focus on, what to eliminate, what is good to know, what UPSC wants you to know, etc. So what we will be doing, we will be giving you an overview of what to look out for, and then we will take a few tests. So it will act as, active recall. Okay. And after that active recall, and it also, keeps you active instead of, one-way traffic of my saying and you're just listening. So it will keep you active. It will be also a kind of practice. So the mind games and all. And I think that this will help you. Okay. So I hope this methodology is okay. You're comfortable with it.
Yes, sir.
This is the same thing that I want you to do. Just 3-4, points, information, and just try to see the way, UPSC kind of, juggles with it. Okay. So I will leave you here today. Thank you for joining me. And just keep a lookout for the next class, because if not on Sunday, maybe I can do it in some other day, but just wait for the official, announcement. Right.
Sir, I have one request to you, sir. Will you please provide your contact details today, sir? Your contact details, your contact number.
I think I've given it, no, in the first slide here.
Sir, I missed it because I joined late. That's why.
Yeah. So this is, if you have any questions, please don't. I haven't given the number because I get overwhelmed by calls. So if you, this is my mail. If you have any questions, you can send me. But please give me some time because I have to answer various kind of mails. Okay. But once I get the mail, be sure that I'll reply. This much I can assure you. Okay.
Sir,
Tell me.
sir, can you share any trick or tip?
Yes. Shubhankar, তুমি কি আছো? শুভঙ্কর, তুমি কি বেরিয়ে গেছো না আছো? Okay, but any case, I have already, this presentation of mine, right, this PowerPoint, I've already shared with the administration. So I'll ask them to share with you as early as possible. That is what you want, right?
No, sir. I was asking that, sir, can you share any tip or trick to remember this? Because
Any?
like how to remember all of this together? Because what happens with me is, like right now, I listened to your class, I was focusing, and
Okay.
I listened to everything. And as the questions right now, I can answer very well. But
Okay.
if I study it later on, I forget, and or it gets confused with the others.
Okay, so essentially what is happening, you are having a kind of mind block with regard to a guide. Okay.
Yes,
But
sir.
I would suggest that, UPSC is self-study. Okay. Trust yourself, have confidence. 1 or 2 days, keep track of the system we are following, but also remember that you can do it on your own. And what works for me, when we were younger, is essentially when we read something, we make it a point to read it, the next day. Again, after 2-3 days, read it up again. So the more you recall, the more you remember. Just trust your, memory. It works. But if you read it and you don't read it the next day, I'll guarantee 80% of it will be forgotten. So that's the trick. There's no shortcut. But of course, it varies from people to people. But this will work for you. Trust me. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So we will end here. I don't think Shubhankar is here, but I'm signing out. So we will meet again very soon. You'll get an official announcement. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.